Hello and welcome to Hustle Over Everything podcast. This is the podcast where we receive stories, tips, and tactics from entrepreneurs who have done it. I'm Alex, the owner of the show, and today we're talking to Roberto Blake. He is an OG YouTuber and he has over 600,000 subs, and he's a well-known, trusted figure when it comes to content creation in YouTube. So today we're going to have an interview discussing his journey and discussing a few things when it comes to content creation, like contracts, like perpetuity, like course creation. So it's going to be a good conversation. Strap in. We actually had a long conversation that was over 2 hours. We made it a two-part episode, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. All right, I'll see you on the side. Peace. All right, Roberto, welcome to the show. How you
Thanks so
doing?
much for having me.
Most definitely, most definitely. Now, to get into the creator talk, because one thing I definitely want to get into with you is, focusing on how creators are making money. I
Yep.
have a segment on the podcast that we call Deal or No Deal, right?
hmm
So basically, you say yes, deal. You've seen the show Deal or No Deal, and in it you say yes, deal or no deal, and you answer why. All right. So here
Okay.
is the question. So I'm a creator, just starting out. I'm thinking about monetizing everywhere. I hear about UGC content.
hmm
So I applied and finally got reached out to by a UGC agency. They offered 200 USD per raw video, which is about $8,000 in Canadian. I'm joking, but this about roughly $250 to $300 Canadian, and they are offering about 10 videos per month. Now, in this deal is a contract, and of course, the contract mentions perpetuity. Using the content across TV ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, whatever platform they want, and they own it forever.
How big are you right now?
The creator says they're just starting out, so I'm guessing they're not big at all. Deal or no deal?
Deal. Because if you're not big right now, and there's this fear that, they're going to get to use this thing forever. Here's the thing. Realistically, they probably can't, because the thing is probably not going to be so evergreen or so relevant, especially if it's UGC and you're doing what they're asking you to. They're not going to have such great foresight that they're going to be able to milk this thing for no 5 years. So it really doesn't matter. They're saying that to give them the legal bandwidth and the coverage, but the reality is they probably don't have a legitimate reason. Most of the stuff is seasonal. Most of the stuff, it's going to not be relevant after 3 or 6 months. In the meantime, with you getting 10 videos at like $300 a pop, $3,000 a month, that's basically a salary or step in that could put you in a position where between UGC and maybe some gig work, you can literally be a full-time creator from the very beginning and schedule your life to where you have a lot of efficiency and a lot of bandwidth to be able to do what you want as a content creator and not be using scraps of energy after working 50 hours a week at a 9 to 5 job that you hate. And working on their content only makes you better at the craft for your content. That's why I think for early on starting, it's a pretty good deal. Because by the way, that's no different than just being an employee. That's no different than an employment contract. Because if you were an employee doing this, the difference is they'd control all of your time, all of your energy, all of your process, and the company would still own everything in perpetuity anyway. So for now, while you have zero leverage, I think it's a deal.
But now
You're a famous content creator. If that ever happens, it doesn't matter because all the stuff is outdated. They're not going to want to use it. Perpetuity isn't a big deal when the thing is there's no chance of it being evergreen.
but what if it is evergreen, right? Let's say
Exactly. And who cares? And who cares? Is it
Mm.
really going to be up to the standards of what a camera is capable of doing in 5 years? Is it going to be in a style of edit that's going to be popular in 5 years? Who cares?
That's interesting. I didn't think about it that way. The styles really do change. To think
So much.
to think what 5 years ago, the content that was 5 years ago
No.
was
Throw up something from 5 years ago, you're probably canceled. Who cares?
interesting.
Also, the company that uses it will still be around in 5 years.
That's a good point. So
The way
now,
Come on, man.
but now at the same time, I've seen companies take advantage of the UGC content and completely blast it out. You're everywhere. You're on TV ads, and you only get $200 for the video. It's kind of it is a bit of a raw deal in a way, because
It feels like one more than it is. It feels like one more than it is.
mm,
Because the thing is, if you had the ability to command a higher price or get more than that, you wouldn't be even interested in that deal. If you have the leverage to command a higher price,
mm,
from 300 to 500 then.
mm,
Place to where you're happy and comfortable and you don't care how they use it because there's enough money there for you to be living the life that you want to walk. But it's like, I wouldn't be sitting there pocket watching and worrying about and calling myself being exploited by some company if I'm getting to do things on my own terms, because I'm not at somewhere 40, 50 hours a week. I'm able to make content when I want. Maybe they're not haranguing me for a bunch of revisions. Some bad thing didn't happen to me because this company paid 300 and then they used it in ads that they had to buy and pay for to put all over the place. And even if they do, I have the upside of the fact that they put me on TV. Now I get to say as seen on TV.
mm.
I wouldn't buy my way into that television slot anyway. So then I would just use it to my advantage. I make everything work for me.
Mm.
I'm not gonna worry about them getting over or them getting sent out of it. If they got something out of it, fantastic. Write me a review and write me a referral that I'm going to use. Vouch for me for the next company because you got so much value from me.
Mm.
If you work a 9-to-5 job, the odds are you're going to make the people that you're working for rich anyway.
That's a good point.
Think about it.
That's a good point.
And you're not going to be able to leverage a lot of times your reputation from that employer the way you can as a contractor working with a brand.
Okay. You definitely changed my perspective a little bit on it, because what we're taught as creators is run as far away as you can from the word perpetuity.
Generally speaking, I understand the practice and I even warn people about it, but in the context that we're talking about for a small content creator, no leverage, no opportunities, that could never be on TV on their own merit by themselves at that point, that some bad thing didn't happen to you. Small creators are preached a spirit of fear and constantly told how they're exploited, told that YouTube doing ads and not paying them as exploitation. You couldn't buy the bandwidth to be on YouTube if you had to pay for it outright. I worked in web hosting. You can't afford the bandwidth and the server fees for hosting unlimited videos. You really can't. So YouTube is doing you a great service. If ads are running on your channel, it means once you meet the requirements to be monetized, oh, good. That means they will run ads on your channel. You know you'll be approved into the partner program. That's a load of anxiety off your chest. And here's the thing. If you can't meet the requirements, the amount of money that they're getting off of you is negligible, because you're going to get paid 1/10 of a penny for every view. That's nothing. In the meantime, if you want to make money off of your channel before ad revenue kicks in, the Amazon influencer program, you have a better chance of making dollars off of that instead of pennies off of YouTube. Why are you going to pass over dollars to pick up pennies? If you can even sell one t-shirt, hat, or hoodie, you're going to make more money off of that than you could off of getting 10,000 views. You make 2 sales, it's more than 10,000 views was worth on YouTube, because it's 1/10 of a penny per view.
Just going with a product focus instead of going off of the actual product platform giving you dollars.
It's a transaction. It's a transaction that's dollars versus literally AdSense revenue is fractions of a penny per view. Fractions of a penny per view for most content creators. You have to be in a business niche before it's a penny per view. For it to be a penny per view, you have to get a $10 CPM. $10 RPM. $10 RPM.
Yep.
After YouTube takes its cut.
Yep.
So for you to get even half a cent, you'd have to have a $5 RPM. Most of you are not going to be in niches that have that. So what are you doing? And that's for 1,000 views. So that means by the time you get 10,000 views, you still are like, what, clearing $5, $10? Maybe if you're lucky, 50. Do you realize if you had 10,000 views, but if you were doing even 2 sales for every 1,000 views of a hat or a t-shirt or a $5 sticker pack or something, that you'd be making more dollars off of that you could ever hope to on the initial ad revenue while you're small. you're probably not going to go viral. And that's on regular YouTube videos. A lot of creators today, they're going to grow off of shorts. A shorts is going to be even less per view.
Yeah, shorts is an interesting concept because they are giving you a lot of views, but in terms of fan base generating, it's not the best I found personally. I've gotten shorts that have had 30,000 views, 20,000, 10,000 for a small creator. That's huge. But in terms of developing a fan base, I had one video that got 7,000, and that did wonders in comparison to a short that does 50,000, right?
Attention, loyalty. That's the difference. Attention is not loyalty.
Exactly. So that's the question I actually want to ask. Like, what are the new ways of building loyalty and not attention?
To get to loyalty, you need a relationship with someone. You can't get a relationship with someone without at least getting their attention first, but it's about how you get their attention and why you have their attention. The problem with shorts a lot of times, it's a low value investment because, again, to commit to you, they only have to give you, 10 to 60 seconds? That's not a big commitment, and it's also low investment, low deposit, low return, right? But again, it was low risk too. So that's the problem in general with business and society and even social relationships is there's no depth. There's no depth. That's why it's broad reach but it's shallow. It's shallow. It's a mile wide, but an inch deep. That's how shorts and short form content is. That's why it's hard for people to remember anything about those videos or remember those creators. And that's why there's no loyalty because it's a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem, right? And now there's ways that work for you. But the thing is, if what you're looking for is loyalty, if you're looking for ride or die, that's not a ride or die interaction. That's not a ride or die relationship.
It's interesting because as someone that's a podcaster, everyone's like, clip it, make 10 clips and drop 10 clips a day, you know.
There's value to this area, but the thing is, you're taking something that had dip and you're drawing from the well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're drawing from a deep well into a reasonable bucket that you can carry. You can't carry all the water in the well, but you can get into this bucket. And from that bucket, you can get it into a glass that you can actually drink from, which is making it consumable. That's why it makes sense to take deep, long form, take one of the most attention-grabbing things out of there that is substantive, and then make it digestible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that I'm consistently seeing on YouTube is everyone launching a course.
And not every entertainers aren't launching courses.
Yeah, even like Yes Theory is an entertaining platform and they launched a course. Like it's pardon me?
Who?
Yes Theory.
Yes Theory. They're different. They're not just an entertainment. They're a media mogul and organization. They're a massive like world global spanning brand. Like they literally have an ad and they have like a collaboration now with Shake Shack. I mean, not Shake Shack. Sorry, Smoothie King.
Okay.
They're doing radio ads. That's like a global brand. That's not a YouTuber.
Got you. But the crux of what I'm saying is that the information age of selling information. And actually, Pat Flynn just released a video on this.
Yeah.
About how the information age is seeming like it's hit, mass consumption, burnout. It's at a critical mass, and I feel like everybody's sick of course creators.
No, the people who actually buy them. No, people are sick. People are sick of course creation. They never bought it. They've never bought it, and they probably never finished 2 or 3 courses.
Yeah,
that's like having a critique about an author when you've never read their work. If you've never read Tolkien, how are you going to critique Tolkien and Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion? How are you going to do that? How are you going to say you hate Star Wars, but you've never sat there and you never watched the original trilogy? You've never watched a Star Wars film from beginning to end? So no, it's like you can't. How are you going to hate on a product from the position of the fact that it exists in the marketplace, but it's not something that you have bought? That just means it's not for you, and you just resent that in a peripheral that it's even out there and exists, which is nonsensical.
Mm,
That's like that would be like me deciding that prank videos shouldn't exist because I don't like watching them.
no, I don't think it's that. I think it's the all right. It's the ability to make money off of it in a very easy fashion. Because once the course is made,
I,
hold
there's
up.
yeah.
Because once the course is made, you can continue to resell and resell and resell it. You know, and there's an industry of people who are, of course, lying about the money they generated, and you know, there's a whole underbelly of course creators
My
who
answer to that, as callous as it sounds, is so what?
I think it ruins and muddies the water for creators like you that are legit. You know,
I
and
think that I think that the thing about this is, and again, I know I'm treading on like pushback from people, yourself included, on this, is like
I love it. It's a great
realize that
conversation.
you realize how, like, one, course creation is not easy just because you can make money off of it over and over again, and people who believe that just haven't ever built or sold it, and they don't know what they're talking about. That's like people who believe that YouTube is easy because a YouTuber makes money off of videos that might be 3 or 5 years old that still are in the style or something like that. And they, all right, have they ever learned a video editing software? No. Have they ever tried to sit in front of a camera or do a live stream and do that long term, multiple times, and do it at high quality? No. Have they ever had to learn how to buy camera gear, microphones, settings, presets, color grading? No. Have they ever tried to do title and thumbnail combinations, A/B testing? No. So, like, it's just like when people say YouTube is the easiest job in the world, but they've never done it. It's the same thing with course creation. It's the same thing with anything. People always comment on things they've never done. It is the same thing because YouTube videos are the same thing, quite literally, as course creation. They are the same thing. It is still content, even with doing UGC, even doing with brand deals. And we can't say it's easy because the thing is, if people selling courses for $500, $600 that have 40, 50 videos that they had to make and edit and put together and do a presentation isn't worth it, then why is a video that a creator did and gave a brand, why is that worth $5,000 or $10,000? Should people not be doing brand deals? So the thing is, it is a perception of people outside of it. I think there is some resentment or envy of the idea. Here's these passive income millionaires. It's like, do you know that corporations built processes where they are 3D printing and manufacturing the products? It doesn't take nearly the labor it used to do, and they make money. Musicians like Rihanna and Taylor Swift are billionaires who have fans who buy and stream and download and buy physical copies of their music, videos, and merch. They don't have to physically do that labor. Once their songs are hits, they can be valuable for them in perpetuity. Michael Jackson still making money from the grave.
A song is completely different from a course because one, the value of that song in perpetuity is way different because songs are timeless. You know,
I would argue it's lesser.
what? No, absolutely not, Roberto.
If you are someone who's going to make 100 YouTube videos a year, what is more valuable to you, a Taylor Swift song or something that takes your workflow in Adobe Premiere from being 5 hours of a turnaround on a video to 2 hours of video?
Give me Taylor Swift every single day, Roberto. Are you kidding me?
Okay. By the way, most people will make that choice. Most people will make that choice, and most people are poor. Most people make that choice, and most people are poor.
Hold up. So you're this to understand your analogy. You're saying either you have the choice, two doors, a Taylor Swift song, as in like you have the rights to a Taylor Swift song or the rights to a course, like as a creator, a course that's teaching Adobe.
No, let's not even look at a course. Let's look at this. Would you rather?
All right.
Would you rather have? Would you rather? And you don't know that someone will be Taylor Swift. This is my point. You won't know that someone will be Taylor Swift. Here's my thing. What is more valuable of an investment of someone's time? Entertainment or utility? Is someone's time better spent learning a software or watching an entire season of something in Netflix?
Oh, for sure. The utility.
What is the better utilization? So from a utility standpoint, because we know this, because like if you can't fully see it behind me, but I have books on my shelf here. And I actually built a library. If you've been following me on x.com, formerly Twitter, I built a library in my basement. Me and my brother put together a library in the basement, and I have literally wall-to-wall books. The knowledge Because again, a course is just a delivery mechanism. A course is just a delivery mechanism. What do you think is more valuable? People listening to a comedy podcast or listening to something like Diary of a CEO or Modern Wisdom or any of these like podcasts that are truly transformative? Do you think it's more valuable to somebody to consume this entertainment that, by the way, still profits a corporation and makes these people billionaires and makes these faceless organizations, or to get deep knowledge that they can use over and over again in their life in an actionable, substantive way? What is a better investment of someone's time? Before we ever even think about dollars, time's the really irreplaceable thing. Are you better off playing video games for an hour or listening to a personal finance podcast from Dave Ramsey?
Mhm. So in terms of utility, of course, I'm gonna go with the course or the platform or content that will add a transformative event to my life, or a book. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But
anyone could do.
But I think the what we're moving away from is the current wave of course creators that are muddying the water because they aren't actually delivering as much value as a book, as a Diary of a CEO.
Okay, so
hold on. Before I let you go, let me land, because
sure.
I think what's happening is that there is a mass population fatigue of course creators because of the misinformation of people being duped by course creators and not getting proper value.
How many out of the market, the marketplace of people who can buy online courses, who can afford it? Because remember, to buy something like that, you have to be in the market of people that is not the majority of Americans down here. More than 60% of Americans don't have $500 to $1,000 in emergency savings, which means we're talking about to be able to be in a position to buy a course out of anything you can do after having money from all your other consumerism. You have to already be in a privileged class of people, which means that the privileged class of reasonably. Just someone who's really bad with money, yes, unless you're bad with money. Because again, if America,
they are
$100 for me. So here's the thing: I can't stop people from being bad with money. They're gonna buy courses, or they're gonna buy some
Gucci,
NFT, or they're gonna go ahead and they're going to buy stupid crap at Walmart or QVC, or they're going to buy drugs, or they're gonna buy alcohol, or they're going to buy video games, or they're gonna buy OnlyFans. You cannot do anything about the market. Do you realize that the course seller market is much smaller than the market of people wasting money on OnlyFans? Come on, man. So I don't think I understand that people might be fatigued, but I don't think it's a big problem. I think charlatans and scammers are bad people, but I don't think it's this mass epidemic that people thinks it is, for several reasons. One, do you realize how easy it is to get a refund on anything that you put on a debit card or credit card if you're a reasonable person? Do you realize that any reasonable person buy anything? One, they read the refund policy. Two, they won't fall for charlatans nearly as easy, because the thing is, in spending money, this is an education problem. If you're going to spend money with somebody as an educator, I'm going to tell you all the red flags. And it's not some guru bingo list, because someone will just figure that out. I'm going to use common sense here. Do not buy something from somebody if you have not already made money using their free content and methodology. Number one. Number two, if you don't already have a vehicle for making money, you have no business buying online make money course if you don't have a vehicle or skill for making money. Meaning, if you already don't have a YouTube channel where you've already proven that you can make 150 videos, where you've already committed for a year, you have no business buying a YouTube course. I tell people that all the time, not to buy anything from me or any other YouTube coach if you haven't made 150 videos, and probably if you're not in the YouTube Partner Program already. Because the thing is, if you can't even get monetized on the YouTube Partner Program, you don't have a way to make your money back. If you don't get to at least a certain subscriber count, you don't have a way to do sponsorships. If you don't already get past filming on your phone, you probably don't have the option to do UGC content for brands. You need skills, because otherwise, if you're trying to make money without skills, you're a charlatan. Because if you don't have value for the marketplace, why are you trying to extract value from the marketplace? Build up the skills that allow you to create value. If you don't know how to do that, you go to people who demonstrate skills that produce value in the marketplace beyond selling courses, and you use the tangible skills that they have, you learn from them, and if you have that capacity, and if you've gotten value, saved time, made money, that qualifies that person to teach you. Also, if they have the temperament to where they've been an effective teacher for you and you resonate with them. It's not about you liking them. It's not about them posting their numbers online. It's, did they save you time? Did they make you money? Are they capable of teaching you? And are they making a real transformation, you going from not being good at something to being better than you were a month ago? Those are your qualifiers. And the thing is, if you are not already, if you needed me to tell you that, then you're probably the problem, because if it wasn't a course seller getting your money, it was going to be some other form of a grifter getting your money, because you don't have a decision-making rubric for making good, value-based, intelligent decisions with money. And that's not to be disrespectful. That is to be helpful and to help you understand there is a problem with you and there. You. And it's true. No, and it's true, because if it wasn't a course seller, it will be some other scam. It will be some other scam, because to make money, especially online, the only way anyone makes money online for real is off of, yes, perceived value. But if you want to be legitimate and not a charlatan, it has to be skill-based, substantive value. The get-rich-quick people fall for get-rich-quick schemes because they themselves are trying to extract value from the marketplace with little or no skill over little or no time. I tell people all the time, YouTube is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a 3 to 5 year endeavor if you're very, very good. If you're very, very good. If not, it's 5 to 7 years or never for most content creators. 88% of videos never get 1,000 views on YouTube. 97% of creators are not in the YouTube partner program. Only 0.6% of creators have ever gotten a silver play button. That's what you're up against.
Damn.
Now, it's not about odds or bad luck. It is about qualifying for the skill set. It is about for the skill set required for the outcome that you desire, and it's about having reasonable expectations. Marketplace that you're competing in, the market competing in, just like every other career, by the way.
Let's pivot into that. What are some of the skill sets that make a good YouTuber in 2024?
So the obvious ones that everyone thinks about are the cinematography, production, and the editing. What they don't think about is storytelling, structure, script writing, the ability to do research, the ability to understand your target market, your audience, and to analyze that, reading analytics and data like the click-through rates and impressions, the retention rate graphs, those kind of things. So you actually need to understand analytics and data in YouTube. And that's why I also do my long form live stream free workshops where I literally run people through real analytics and data on my own channel and the historical lifetime of the scope of that, and to say, hey, this is also, I wasn't making money at first with YouTube. Look at this. I was making no money and I was doing this. And hey, like, here is where I was in a bad deal with an MCN. This is why you negotiate contracts this way. This is why you don't sign up for MCNs. They promise you to help you and they don't. Here is what you need to know about copyright. Here's
what's the MCN?
Multi-channel network. So back in the olden days of YouTube, and you can look this up, and they've done expose videos on this. In the early days of YouTube, especially like when I was a small YouTuber with 14,000 subscribers, multi-channel networks would try and recruit new YouTubers, kind of almost the way talent agencies do. And they would promise to help you with collaborations, brand deals, growth strategy. And they'd also tell you they're going to do all these wonderful things for you. And they never did, which is part of why I started teaching content creators, is I delivered on the things that MCMs never did in terms of teaching you to do it yourself. So they would take your a portion of your AdSense revenue in exchange for all this stuff they were going to do. Usually 50%. So I was in a contract for multiple years, but it took 50% of my AdSense revenue. But you're not making a lot of AdSense revenue, and they tell you they're going to help you get brand deals, though you think it's worth it. And the thing is, they don't have to deliver. But what they did was they would use the big YouTubers in the network that they actually are helping and getting some deals for, and taking lesser of a percentage from those big YouTubers, which they don't tell you. And they use that as a means of recruiting the small YouTubers. Now, what we also didn't know back in the olden days is the YouTubers were actually on salary with some of these multi-channel networks that were representing them. And that was giving them the capacity to be full-time creators because AdSense wasn't paying them enough and the brand deals weren't paying enough. So we didn't know that back in the day. So later, all of that stuff comes out, gets exposed. You can look at Defy Media, Machinima, all these ones. And so later creators, and some creators sued them back in the day, and so a lot of them got dissolved. So thankfully that thing ended. But yeah, multi-channel networks were a big deal, and they were hurting a lot of creators. Some still exist today. Some are legitimate. The majority of those were not. And one of the reasons they still exist is, unfortunately, some international creators can't be banked in terms of YouTube, or the YouTube partner program doesn't exist in their country. So an MCN will be based in like the United States or Canada, and we'll be able to represent those creators and get those creators into the partner program and get them paid. Also, if they're not banked, they can pay them out through PayPal or through other means if their country doesn't let the transactions come through in a certain way. So unfortunately, MCNs do serve a purpose for international creators in places where either the YouTube partner program doesn't exist, or where they're not able to have a treaty with the United States in that particular way for YouTube to be able to send them a direct deposit for them to be banked. And they don't want to do snail mail, and the check could get stolen. So they want some access to get the money. So then YouTube, as you know, doesn't pay via PayPal in the partner program. I don't know if you knew that. They have no means of paying you with PayPal or Stripe. So MCNs then act as an intermediary for those creators to get paid.
Gotcha. Then they take a little percentage of that with their pool of creators. Okay. Interesting.
Little though, sometimes it's 50%. Yeah. And that's a lot. And
That's
so
a lot.
That's a lot. So like, and that's after YouTube already took their, so like, and then you still got to pay taxes on that.
Damn.
So like, so YouTube takes 45%, then the MCM takes 50% of that, and then the tax man takes whatever they want after that. And so, and that's the bad predatory situation that was. So like I said, you have to learn a lot to be a YouTuber. You have to learn to, at first, negotiate your own deals, because a lot of times when you're small, there are either no good talent managers to help you with the business side, or they're predatory. So you have to learn to manage your creator business yourself, which is why I started teaching a lot of people that. Started teaching people about, here's why, like, for some people, you're going to get an LLC. For some people, you're going to get S corporation. Just depends on your situation. Like, if you're a husband and wife team, you're probably going to want S corporation, because two of you are going to be on payroll. And so then tax implications wise, maybe that's the case. Talk to an accountant or a lawyer, not financial advice. And but then, like, if you're solo, maybe it's going to be an LLC, but the real benefit is not going to be the taxes. It's going to be the liability protections, because if you're like a commentary channel or a product reviewer, you don't want to be able to be sued. So you want that limited liability company to get the limited liability insurance as a separate entity. And so it'll be things like that. So like the business side of content creation, that's a lot of the stuff that I like to talk about and teach on my channel for free, right? So I started doing that because it started being really important for creators to protect themselves. I started talking about the negotiation of brand deal contracts. I was one of the first creators to show my ad revenue when people still believed that wasn't allowed by YouTube. There was a thing in the terms of service where if you read it a certain way, you could see that. But I was one of the early creators to just start showing all my AdSense revenue and being fully transparent about that. And part of the reason is I want people to understand how the money side of YouTube works, so that they're not in a position where they do get taken advantage of, like I did as a small creator, and to where they also can start optimizing and making this work for them, showing them that AdSense revenue isn't everything. Amazon affiliate was really good to me when I was a small creator doing tech and product reviews. Yeah, no, Amazon affiliate is through the Amazon influencer program is better than people think it is in some ways. You just have to be positioning your content right and speaking to an audience that wants the products that you're, doing. And then in tech and beauty, people clean up in tech and beauty. Even as smaller creators, I know people with 20,000 subscribers that make like $5,000 a month because of Amazon. So, but they're doing the right content that they need to do that, and they don't need to get viral views either. It's that they're reaching buyers. So a lot of people, again, they're focused on AdSense. They're picking up pennies instead of dollars. So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And so it's these different things. You need the marketing skills, you need the production skills, you need the storytelling, you need the script writing. At some point, you might need the ability to even manage people, because you start hiring freelancers before you have full-time employees. You might need to hire a thumbnail artist. You're going to have to understand how to get them paid and how to make sure you're filing a 1099 for them for the tax purposes. So you're going to end up learning a lot more about taxes if you make money than you ever wanted to. It gets very overwhelming very quickly, especially for the creator who went from, hey, I was just doing this as a hobby, to now, oh my God, I was able to leave my 9-to-5 job. It feels great, but it's also very stressful and intimidating for those creators, because there's so much they realize, okay, I didn't know as much as I'm not nearly as educated about this as I thought I was. That's where people end up a lot of times even working with me. It's not always growth strategy. Sometimes it's managing the logistics, the overwhelm, and all the business things they don't know, all of understanding, okay, this is happening, get a lawyer right now. Do not say another word. Go do this. You're going to, it's different. If there's very different things that happen that immediately become emotionally overwhelming, which is why even large creators, a lot of times, they don't have space to say that they're depressed or they're overwhelmed or dealing with chronic anxiety, because their life looks very glamorous, but it's actually very, very stressful, because they accidentally became an entrepreneur and small business owner. They accidentally found themselves in a position where they have employees. They're responsible for people's welfare. They have taxes. They have insurance that they have to, and they get overwhelmed, and it's not always as fun as they thought it was.
Yeah, no, I imagine that must have happened to MKBHD, where one day he's in his, mother's house reviewing a laptop, to now he has like a 30-person team and is in control of payroll. And
it's 9 people for him specifically. I've actually interviewed Marquez. I think it's 9 people right
9
now
people.
on his team. Smart thing he did was he kept it very light and humble throughout his high school and college career, and he went to college for business. So he learned what he was getting himself into for when it was time to scale, and he tried to just keep it light. And he told me that he figured out very early on they had bandwidth for school, sports, YouTube, and nothing else. So that's what life is. He graduated.
Yeah, and I feel like that has to be a lot of YouTubers' lives, where it really just are focused on those 3 things. And maybe sports could usually take a back seat too, because YouTube is so demanding.
He's a student. He was a student athlete, and now he's a professional athlete. He's a pro ultimate
frisbee.
Gonna be mentoring young kids in Jersey, doing that, which is great for him and everything. I'm so happy for him, and he's like a real actual champion, like trophies and everything. He's like the whole 9. He's not a unserious athlete.
No.
So for him, that's why that. Now for other people, it would be because like now that's why he has room for like a relationship, because now it's like, okay, I have a life, YouTube, and sports, because he doesn't have school anymore. But when it was school, it was school. For other people though, and I talked to a lot of the creators who are like over 30, one of the biggest issues is the bandwidth of having to manage like a family while also making room for your content creation. And so that's a struggle for a lot of people.
How did you deal with that?
Well, I'm single with no kids, but I have I retired my mom, so I also help out with her.
Wow.
I have a sibling with a chronic illness and stuff like that. So like for me, there's one, I set some of the boundaries that I had in corporate America. I have like on and off points. I've clawed back my weekends during the so since the pandemic, I clawed back my weekends. You might notice I'm not streaming on the weekend as much. So there's that. I also just flat out wake up earlier. And the main thing I have a no compromise on is really my health. So I get my sleep. You can see that I constantly drink water. There's I have a fitness routine. I have things that I've put into my house to make that easier. I have some separation in the fact that my bedroom is my bedroom. My office is my office. I have my studio. I have another art studio in the basement. And I also then have my library in the basement to relax. So I've created dedicated spaces. I'm very fortunate because I was able to buy my home. And the thing is, and I did that without selling $500 courses, but I'm going to sell $500 courses eventually. But I did that because my primary thing was the brand deals and the sponsored content. Brand deals and sponsored content, doing UGC, working with companies, gave me a lot of flexibility because they had very clear deliverables, very clear deadlines. That made me make YouTube right size in my life. I also decided I didn't really care about getting a gold play button. I knew a long time ago when I got a silver play button that I didn't really care about getting a gold play button. With how quickly the shininess of that wore off, I was like, okay, if you actually invest too much emotionally in this, it will consume you, it'll become obsessive. I feel bad more for young creators because they grew up with this and this becomes their dream. Whereas for me, I started it with the concept of a business and an outlet. So I didn't become as emotionally invested in things like the status that comes from it. I use it for community expression, utility. I use it for the good things, and I try, if I recognize some aspect of it becomes unhealthy, or if something in my life happens, I take the necessary separation. I've hurt my channel multiple times, taking 4 and 6 month hiatuses from my channel that tanked viewers, tanked growth, but guess what? I needed to be mentally healthy. I wasn't going to sit there and I wasn't going to abuse myself just to keep churning out videos. I wasn't going to sit there and not prioritize my mental health, not do what I needed to do with therapy, not do what I needed to do with diet or exercise, not go to the funerals. I wasn't going to make my life revolve around YouTube. That is something a lot of the younger creators do in their 20s.
Yeah, most definitely. Even I find myself, measuring my social clout to other people's social clout. I mean, like, is this one better? Who's better? I think it comes with the game. Unfortunately, how do you steer clear of that? Is it rooting yourself in purpose that kind of grounds you?
Well, I mean, there's a big part of that, but purpose is one thing, but you have to have a vision for your life and know what your life wants to be. And then something's either serving the vision or it's not.
Hmm.
Without a vision, people perish, as they say in the book. So, like, there's the thing is most people's problem, I find, at least in a modern society, from my perspective, is that they lack a vision for their life in terms of, okay, what is my life supposed to be and look like? What experiences am I supposed to have? What goals am I working toward? What things am I meant to do here, or what will be fulfilling, and where am I making room for the things that are fulfilling? Am I making room for enjoyment in my life? Am I learning the things that I would like to learn, even just because I want to know them, not even for their pure utility, not even for their pure utility, because this will improve me as a person. What is my personal development and self-improvement journey? What is my fitness goals, and what do I want to look like and present myself? What is the way that I want to present myself to the world, and am I working to be that person? What abilities do I want to have as I navigate the world for my own sake, to know I can do those things and I have done those things? What accomplishments do I want to know that I've personally achieved, that I can look back in my golden years and say that I'm proud of? What does that look like? People live by the seat of their pants. They have no direction, no purpose, no vision, none whatsoever. They're reacting to everything. And then they're not properly emotionally divesting from things that don't serve them, because they've fallen prey to these unlimited options. And so that's why I try to make things sure I deal with things that are substantive. I know that it's controversial, the opinion I have of this whole course seller thing. The market is not saturated with course sellers. I know the reason I know that is because I study the market. No, I study the market because I'm looking at my competitors. Dude, no, you're looking at me funny. What data point do you have to support the argument you want to make? Because I have data points that I can use to support the arguments I want to make.
All right. Here's the thing. All right, this is my personal experience. I come from the media buying
It's not a
background. Hold on. No. Let me get there. Let me get there. I come from the media buying. I have a media buying background,
right.
and as a media buyer, I know that I can start buying ads and selling a course on how to buy ads for someone's business. But I've seen so many people do it, and it's something personally rubs me the wrong way about it, because I know that there's one, the completion rate is very low, for one. Two,
What's the completion rate?
for courses on average, it's like 10%.
Actually, it's closer to 18. Do you know that no, it is.
Okay,
Go
18 is not much of a
no,
difference.
no, guess what? That's also the job placement rate for colleges for people in their field of study in the United States of America. Because in the United States of America, um, less than 50% now, less than 50% of people who attend college are graduating. And then of those graduates now, less than 50% are getting jobs that would require a degree at all now, in terms of, and this is even 8 years after they've finished schooling, by the way, of the ones that did graduate. And then the minority of them are getting work in their field and degree of study. Now, if you then take that even further, what percentage of the book that they pay $300 a piece for the books, what percentage of the complete textbook do you think that they complete in their course on average?
I don't know. Tell me.
It's less than 20% of the book material is actually used throughout the course that they did. And those books are not inexpensive. These are books ranging from $200 to $400. Okay. And you can look this up for yourself. And this is like, and you can find literally thousands of people all over Twitter and Reddit that will tell you about their lived experience with this and everything like that, which means by the standards that course sellers online are held to, you would have to defund every college in America for the most part. I'm not joking. That's dead serious. That is dead ass.
No,
And so,
well, hold up. So you were equating people getting jobs to completing the course, but
or wait,
hold on.
wait, that, but the process. Remember, they bought a book that
Yeah.
they did not read cover to cover and spent hundreds of dollars on, which is comparative to a course. Yet the college requires it to even participate in the course. It is a requirement to have it, even though you're not going to fully utilize it, and not even close to using half of it for the course. And then on top of that, hang on, and then on top of that, then for the college course itself. You're attending. The only reason you're there is because what are we told and marketed and sold to? Because again, I'm with you to some degree on, you'll have no disagreement with me on the concept of predatory marketing and advertising. I'm saying that's not an exclusive to media buyers or course sellers problem. I'm telling you that marketing and advertising and not delivering the results or the perceived results of what people were promised is a general problem that is not held accountable for across multiple industries, which some people say, duh. But I'm saying that course sellers, one, don't reach the mass market in the way that these other things do. Do you realize how many pharmaceutical products get recalled because they did aggressive false marketing, false advertising, and that they just sit there, oh, side effects may include death, may include this, may include bleeding, which is like really bad, but they get approved by the government of the United States. We have a very bad system around these things.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing advertising standards, in my opinion, are not regulated strictly enough. Is not regulated strictly enough. I would want much more regulation around deceptive marketing and advertising. And then with regard to the student loan problem and the colleges, it's more predatory than anyone really talks about. And the thing is, but they more than anything are actually literally selling the dream. I would argue they're doing a better job of it at scale than any course seller could ever hope to, because they have true legitimacy as institutions. And I'm not saying all college is a scam. I think medical, STEM, engineering, all those things, fantastic. But in general, a lot of things are oversold and overmarketed, and college is oversold, overmarketed, falsely advertised, and the statistics and data of the actual value are misconstrued, because they'll just use, well, on average, college graduates make more money than non-college graduates. Okay, does that data then break down whether those people were working class to begin with, middle class to begin with, or is it skewed as an average because you have a lot of elite people who are already going to be okay, that already have connections and family and clout, that are skewing the average of the earnings? What would happen if we take people whose family came from the top % of earners out of that data? Would the marketing then be able to say that working class and middle class people who go to college get better results, and to what degree? That would come down, those averages and those numbers for the marketing would come down considerably. So they're not lying, but they are misleading. And I think that that's just as bad.
All right. So there's two things I feel like you're conflating here. One is the completion rate versus the results post completion. So if I'm going to, pardon me?
I used completion rate for the book material.
Got you.
Which also costs hundreds of dollars, which is comparable to online courses. The books for college are comparable to online courses.
Got you. But yeah, exactly. A book usually costs like $800. It's insane. But in that book, it's used for that course in that class that person usually does complete, or else they fail that class and then they get held back with.
Rate of that though is like 50% or more now in America.
Okay, so then 50% to 18% is a huge difference. You know, for one,
it starts with the fact that, one, the utility of the thing that they're using. Because remember, a course is a reference material in most cases if it's not a cohort.
Yeah.
Because a class is like a cohort.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you measure cohorts actually have a very high performance and outcome rate, and cohorts have a very high completion rate.
Yeah.
Now, problem is you can't fail out of a cohort. You just have to attend, mind you. So we know that cohorts live training does very well. We know that people who work one-on-one with people, just like with tutors, we know that goes very well. So I want to compare to apples on it. But in terms of when people buy a course book, they do not complete even a fraction of that course book in the same way that they don't necessarily complete an online course. Here is the difference, though, that I want to bring out to you, because I think you understand that I'm trying to make a correlation and an analogy here. I'm not trying desperately to conflate these things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is misunderstood, and I'm trying to explain it from another point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it's contrarian, because the easiest thing for me would be to say, oh, these people are hucksters, and then here are the people who are legitimate. That'd be the easiest thing for me to do. I'm trying to show you how to analyze this. What you could look at is this. If somebody buys a static book that's never updated, there's a point where that physical, tangible item has a very limited lifespan of utility, and yet you're stuck with it. And the resale value of that to extract the value back is very low for that college student. I know thousands of people who've gone through this with their college stuff and their student loans and so on and so forth. So that's the other problem. The other problem is, to even participate, a lot of them had to do it with a loan. Now, yes, I understand some people buy courses on credit cards, which I think is dumb. Never do that. And if you do, make sure it's like Amex, because the refund is easy to get on Amex. And the thing is, if you did buy a course, by the way, and you didn't get past a certain point or use it, if you evaluate it and you go ahead and make sure that you have the time to go through it in like 15 days before you ever even get to the 30-day period, you can get to your refund much more reasonably. You can't really get there when it comes to these books that you have to buy for college or the course itself that you have to buy for college. It's much easier to get a refund if you were buying an online course, which, again, do not go into debt to do YouTube or buy online courses or do anything to make money online. Don't go into debt to do it. You either have the money to do it or you don't. But this is a different problem. That's a money management problem. When it comes to the utility of a book, I think books are great. But when you spend hundreds of dollars of a book that's going to be outdated in just a little while, the long-term utility of that is, what I would look at is, if someone's selling an online course, one, has that course been around for a while? If you're someone who's new to course buying, has this course been around for a while? Who has the person been around for a while? And do they promise lifetime updates to the course? And are there reviews that have shown that the course is updated pretty regularly? Does this person take people into the back end of their course and show that they're updating the material? Do they talk about new methods in the content of the thing that you're viewing from them? And are they putting themselves out there? And then what's their reputation? I think it's actually much easier than people want to realize to start to tell who charlatans are, because you should not be impressed by sales numbers that can be faked or what they're doing. Look to the tangible, real world proof of their skills. Look to what is material and substantive and their capacity to do work. And also look to those those things that they do in the real world. The good thing about professors to some degree is most professors in college would have had to at some point worked in their field of study. Now, there's a problem where some people move straight from academia to working for the college. So you want to also, even for the real world for colleges, you want to vet your course professors, and you want to go and look up their credentials, go look up their LinkedIn profile. Do this for anybody that you want to do business with, is look at what they did in the real world, because it's hard to fake tangible work. You want to look at tangible work. So that's very important. You also want to look at, now in the ad world, because you and I both came from like media buying and ad buying, the problem with that world is, unless they worked at an internal company that you can investigate, it's very hard if that person's only ever just been an independent small business owner. And there are things like fake reviews out there, but the thing is, you don't want to go off of those things. If that's the case, what you want to do is then look to their free material and say, I'm using the free material. Did I make money? Yes or no? Am I better at the thing that I'm trying to physically do? Yes or no? Then this is a good person to learn from. Now, if you get the course and then you don't feel like it's good, you should be able to evaluate that within about 15 days. Most refund policies are 15 to 30 days. If you are even close to the refund window and you feel anxiety or unsure, or even if the course did exactly or is doing what it's supposed to, but you feel like you've made a mistake and you've overcommitted in the money and you just don't have the time to commit to this thing the way you thought you did, then you should just go ahead and start the refund process as quickly as possible and say, you know what, this isn't for me, or you know what, I don't really have that money in the bank right now. And you should really do that. And you should make sure before you buy anything, that you look at the refund policy around the course and make sure that you're in a position to where you know that you can get that refund. Now, when it comes to colleges, you're not going to be able to do that as easily. I would say you can, though, with boot camps. If you go to workshops and boot camps in the real world, there's usually some kind of guarantee, but usually you don't need one because it's a real world experience. You're getting hands-on training. So usually Coding boot camps tend to be very good. And I would say physical in-person workshops tend to be very good. If you're trying to learn from other people, a lot of times maybe try in-person workshops or boot camps where there's a tangible hands-on component. So again, I think that what you have to do is the best thing we could do is educate people on how to know what is legitimate and what is not. And then also, if they feel anxiety, whether something is legitimate or not, if it's a financial issue, they need to know how to have the financial literacy to know here's how refunds work. Here's what banks and cards have the best ability to work with the customer to get their funds back. And that's usually American Express and PayPal specifically. So if you go through the refund process for that, those are probably two of the best cards that have the best fight for the customer ethos in terms of getting you a refund. If you feel that you made this purchase for any reason that gives you anxiety or is wrong. What you don't want to do is if something is good, is you don't want to sit there, take the course or download everything and then defraud these people and charge it back. You don't want to do that because you don't want to be, a scumbag or anything like that.
Mhm.
It's just that if you feel, hey, this isn't for me and I made a mistake or I overcommitted or I don't really have it like that and I'm within the refund window, try to get and refund and go that route. If you're not already in a position to commit or get results, or you don't even think the thing is good, just go through that process. It is very difficult to get scammed in that situation if you know what your consumer rights are and you know how to approach that refund policy. Then there's very likelihood that you get scammed and don't get your money back. So that would be the easiest way to protect people, is to make sure that no matter what happens, they don't lose money. What's Warren Buffett's rule? Don't lose money.
Okay. So you made some good points. Now, can we both agree that there is a charlatan issue when it comes to the course?
I always said there is.
Okay.
But it's not just course creation. It's multiple things.
For sure. But there's a charlatan in medicine. There's a charlatan in many different industries. And
I think that the problem with the course creation, most people don't qualify to buy online courses. They can't, but they can buy these other things more easily and more often. And they're marketed much more. But you and I, the reason you and I focus on this is because we're part of the industry.
Very much so.
And we also are the people who could afford to be sold to in a way.
Yep.
And then we're also looking at, as educators ourselves, we're looking at, okay, if I sell it something, do people associate me with these bad people? And I understand that. I'm just saying that we're dealing in a very privileged bubble in terms of what our issue is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring it back down to that, is there's a higher likelihood and there's people who are getting ripped off much more egregiously than anyone in our sphere of the people who deal in the problems we do, because these are first world privilege problems.
Yeah, for sure. And it is a first world problem because we're all trying to accelerate to the highest degrees of our first world, period. And I think having people like you, that can cut through the noise and provide actual value when it comes to growing as a YouTuber, when it comes to managing your business as a YouTuber, is very, very, very useful, very valuable, right? So for people that actually do want to take that course and get educated, firstly, where can they find your work?
Well, me, I don't have a course for them right now. Right now, what I do is I do stuff that is virtual in person or physically in person. So the thing, I do one-on-one with people. Like actually, before we got on our call and I was late to our call, I actually just finished with Justin, who is a real estate agent running a business that is doing YouTube and is doing a podcast and is interviewing business owners. So again, the kind of person who has the money because he has an actual business, right? Most of the people I work with are over 30 and they either are very successful in their career, they have a profession, or they run a business. Is a lot of them. Some of them are new creators. Some of them are people who are on that crux of being able to go full time. But I don't try to sell to people who haven't even monetized a channel. One of the prerequisites for working with me is usually being in a position to where you're monetized or you have a business. So you have a vehicle that will allow you to make your money back. So for me, people who want to work with me, it's awesomecreatoracademy.com. for basically everything. You can find me at Roberto Blake in YouTube. I answer questions all day for $0 in Twitter publicly all the time. And I do 2 to 3 live streams a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, around 6:30, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, just depending on what's going on in real life. And I do these deep dive workshops. They're like 3 hours, and doing content stuff. That's what I'm doing right now, versus what I used to do is like 10 to 20-minute videos. Now I'm doing like really deep dive, like answer every question, go in depth, show all the analytics, show the back end. So we do Monetization Monday, Workshop Wednesday, FAQ Fridays. One of the reasons I'm doing that is because a lot of that free material will be better than a lot of the $200 to $500 online courses that people are currently buying already. So that is one of the reasons that I am doing that, and also trying to give them a standard for, here's how you can look at whether you are learning something, and here are tasks and milestones and assignments and things you can do. I'm trying to, because I'm not against higher learning. It might seem that I'm very anti-college. I'm anti-college debt. I'm anti-student loan debt. I'm anti-government predatory lending and usury. Very anti-debt. Much more, again, Dave Ramsey, like anti-debt. Always have publicly taken that stance, by the way. I'm a big advocate for community college. I'm a big advocate for trade schools, doing things tangibly in the real world. And I believe in higher learning for degrees in medicine, STEM, legal, the sort of things that actually really, truly make sense to go, that have a high ROI to them and are more guaranteed, a little safer. You know, that's that first generation American, that's that being that immigrants like, do the safe thing if you're going to college, you know, get a degree that actually pays money. And I say all that just to say this, is that, and I've got more time for you. I've got a bit more time for you. I don't have something after this for a good while. But what I would say is, my belief and desire is that people should build the foundation of their skills, and it should be something that is tangible so you can build a body of work. Then the main thing and component from there is that you then need to translate your skills into value that builds a reputation with people, so that you can have an earned reputation. And so now with that earned reputation, you are able to have a network of people that can help you to have access to opportunities, because this is what people really need. So the gateway that will open up everything for you in life is the foundation of your skills. When I was 13, my grandmother, who was a CNA nurse, you know, rest in peace, she bought us the family's first computer, which gave me the access to the internet at 13 years old. One of the first things I ended up learning to do is I learned to code in a summer. I taught myself, and largely out of a book, plus some free websites that were this is AOL days, you know, this is like, so the thing is, for me, it was, okay, people putting free stuff out on the internet actually worked, and it helped me at a very young age in the early internet when everyone was just figuring it out. And so I learned to code at 13, changed my life, opened up opportunities that would never be available to someone with my background if I hadn't. And I also learned as a teenager video editing before YouTube ever existed. 7 years, I think, before YouTube ever existed, I was editing videos online and posting them on the internet. And back then, you only had very small free hosting, AngelFire, GeoCities, Lycos, that sort of thing. So I benefited from a lot of the free education that was available online, but also books. And I was an avid book reader. I ended up working at a Borders bookstore as a teenager as one of my first jobs in the mall. So I was reading anything I could get my hands on. I went to community college because that's my background. I was just too poor to have a different option. And so I went to community college. I didn't finish and get a 4-year degree or anything like that. I didn't even get associates. So, but what gave me opportunities? It was that I was delivering tangible results with the skills that I got and doing freelancing and building a reputation, but also helping my classmates. And one of my classmates, because I helped her so much, Jamie, shout out to Jamie out there, when she was getting married and moving away, she had a job at the company I was going to apply to when I got my associates. And so since she learned a lot of what she knew from me, because even as a student, I was helping and tutoring and mentoring my other classmates, even while I was struggling with the real world, I was helping them not struggle in the classroom, because I just loved the thing that we were all doing so much, and I believed in it. She was able to refer me to the company that I thought I had to get a degree to apply to in the first place. And I got that job because I was able to help someone, create real value for them, put them in a position where they got that job. And then that job transferred to me upon their exit, because opportunities go to people in network. and you build a network by creating real world value that impacts people and helps them get what they want. So you can see this virtuous cycle of, okay, I learned something very young because of books and the internet. I was able to then do things that allowed me to help and inform other people, even my peers. Helping my peers then created opportunities for me I would not have otherwise had without going through another means that wouldn't have even has been nearly as effective of being walked through the back door. And so that is how I then got that first opportunity and that job working at a company doing web design. That opened up the opportunity later for me to go to work at the ad agency in New York. That transformed and changed a lot of my life. I learned a lot in entrepreneurship. I made myself the apprentice of, the ad agency head at the time and the VP of sales. And I get all these great relationships. I got to work on great ad campaigns with companies like WeTV, AMC, Madison Square Garden, HBO Sports. I got to do transformative things and build a portfolio and a reputation. While I was there, I worked on my skills and I still did freelance stuff and I still did my own artwork. I got myself published for my Photoshop stuff in a couple of legit Photoshop magazines, Photoshop Creative, Advanced Photoshop, a couple of other ones. I won a few online awards, Editor's Choice Award for Photoshop Creative and Advanced Photoshop Magazine. I won Editor's Choice Award. So now I had something. There was a typography website, I forget what it is now, and I won an award for a piece that I submitted for that. I was getting some of my own clients on the side.
You earned it.
I was doing tangible, real world work, real world social proof on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't have the social media following. I didn't have any of that. I did have a blog. That was it. And I was interviewing other people and other designers at the time and freelancers at the time and talking about how, hey, you can become a freelancer. Hey, if you want, you can either go from working for other people or freelancer. You can transition. Hey, what's that like? What do you need to do? And then that led to the YouTube videos. That led to I had something I did in the real world. I talked about my lived experience online. It attracted like-minded people. That opened opportunities too. And it didn't start the way people would think it did. It gave me opportunities, for example, to write for publications, print magazine, How Design Brand, Creative Pro. And then those relationships led to public speaking events that led to me building a network because I created real value through writing. And then that led to real value through speaking, which put me in the room with people to build a network of contacts in my industry that then would lead to these other opportunities as people move on and go to other companies or spin up other events. I got more speaking opportunities. I got some of my first brand deal relationships from in real life, not someone emailing me, not going to some website, real world hand at events where people paid for a booth, getting my first consulting clients for being a social media marketer outside of corporate and doing that for other people's businesses on the back end, even doing work for the events and double dipping and not just being a speaker, but then saying, hey, you guys need somebody to handle and edit the videos that you're posting online or do this or do that or add the logos or do this or do that and doing some of the back end work. Hey, do you need somebody to manage the back end social media accounts for the conference? And so I started brokering those deals and getting those long-term contract relationships. I people to understand and learn soft skills, communication, writing, being able to read a room, public speaking. I want you to learn hard, tangible, technical skills, coding, design, marketing, branding, ad buying and media buying, video creation, video editing, motion graphics design. These are real world skills. They're very limited in scope that less than 1% of humans on earth actually have. Whenever we think a market is saturated or we think something is saturated, really think about how many human beings in the world actually are capable of doing that thing. People believe YouTube is saturated. It's not saturated with high quality, high performers because 0.6% of people have a silver play button, which means less than 1% of people are playing at a level of skill that is able to produce the result of attracting and retaining the loyalty of an audience. I talk about, oh, this isn't saturated, this isn't saturated. I'm going off of market numbers as the total addressable market of people participating, the consumer base for the thing, but then also, and then the consolidation that happens at the outlier top performers that then winner take all or winner take most. So when I then run the numbers, I go, wait a minute, this isn't saturated with quality. This isn't saturated with things most people respond to. Most people only consolidate over here, which means that everything else is just crumbs. So then that's why I determine whether something is a problem or not, is I'm going off of those data points. I'm looking at the scale. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, again, when you're talking something mass scale, 1% could be 10 million people when something's big enough. You know, when something's big enough, when your platform like YouTube, you have billions of users, 1% becomes a lot. When you have 100 million users, 3% being monetized is 3 million people. That's a lot. But then you have to look at this. How there are so many niches in YouTube. So the thing is, there's not like 1,000 channels in a niche that all have top performers. Because remember, there's less than 1 million content creators with a silver play button. When you look at these things, and I know I'm getting long-winded here, but it's like I want people to really understand and how to look at these things objectively, because they may not think they have an opportunity, but they really do, because the answer is to become a high performer. And the answer is to get a skill set that most people don't have, a real-world skill set. But to set yourself apart from the charlatans, do real-world work and build real relationships and people who can vouch for you, and then have case studies around your work and have tangibles that can be verified by other people where they can see the results. Also, compete at the top of your market for industry awards. Compete market for industry awards and build real world relationships. Don't try to be all in on digital. I actually still believe in being in the real world. One of the most successful things you can do if you want to be a content creator is be like, it sounds crazy, but it's like the people who will be the most successful content creators are people who already are in STEM and are engineers, are lawyers, are doctors, because then you become Dr. Mike Diamonds, like one of my clients, real Dr. Mike Diamonds, not the same thing as Dr. Mike in New York, different guy, black guy. But also, yeah, Dr. Mike, Emily D. Baker, Legal Eagle. These are people in the legal profession of YouTube. You can be an engineer, Mark Rober. Maybe you're not going to work for NASA, but again, someone who's got a background in engineering or physics is going to be much more, because who can really compete with them on YouTube of having that background, but then also being a good content creator, a good presenter, a good community builder. So it's a combination of building real world, tangible outlier skills, soft skills that make you a people person, and hard skills that let you create tangible, real value, and value that people pay a lot of money for, because those people, they either, one, don't have the time or skill to invest in getting your particular skill set and technical ability, or two, even if they did, it's not worth the time versus operating their business and doing scaled things. So you want to be valuable to top tier people. That's the path you want to set yourself on. There's no way to shortcut that, and there's no get rich quick scheme to accomplish it. Or what you need to look for is you need to look for real world results, real world social proof, tangible executions of skill. And that would actually make all the difference in the world for people to, one, be on the path to actually genuinely be successful and be one of these top outliers in their field, in their niche. Also, this would help people narrow their focus to say, what can I do that sets me apart in the real world? Because it's very difficult to do, and less than 1% of the people in the world do it.